Mr. President.
The senator from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I come to the floor today to raise my concerns over the outcome of the summit between the United States and North Korea. Now, after witnessing heated rhetoric from both sides, the unexpected turn towards diplomacy by President Trump and Kim Jong-un was, by all accounts, a very welcome development. As there is no military solution to the North Korean nuclear crisis, I was encouraged to see direct engagement. And I have long advocated for this approach. However, I am concerned that the agreement signed this morning does little to address the threats and challenges we face. First, the text of the statement was the most vague and least detailed of any signed by North Korea over the past 3 decades. Despite his claims to the contrary, President Trump got a weaker deal with fewer commitments than any of his predecessors. Nowhere does the document explain what, quote, complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula means. For example, Kim Jong-un can easily interpret the language to mean that he will only relinquish his nuclear weapons once the United States does the same. After all, history shows us that North Korea interprets the term Korean Peninsula to include any U.S. nuclear weapon capable of striking North Korea. The loopholes in the agreement, it seems, are big enough to fly nuclear missiles through. By contrast, previous agreements were much more stringent. The 1992 joint declaration signed by North and South Korea, for example, included conditions such as, quote, South and North Korea shall not test, manufacture, produce, receive, possess, store, deploy, or use nuclear weapons. And South and North Korea shall not possess nuclear reprocessing and uranium enrichment facilities. Unfortunately, neither of those commitments appears in the latest agreement. The language instead suggests something worrying, as the administration must have realized that this agreement was not as strong as the previous ones. It appears that it was unable to convince North Korea to adopt tougher, more detailed commitments. If true, we should take the hint that North Korea has not yet felt the economic pressure necessary to compel it to accept our definition of denuclearization, one where the Kim regime relinquishes its nuclear weapons and its means to produce more. It appears that Kim Jong-un, having stockpiled a wide range of illicit and dangerous weapons, believes that he is negotiating from a position of strength rather than from a position of weakness. And while the Trump administration says that it has imposed maximum pressure, the truth is that we haven't yet reached that level that could be called maximum pressure. North Korea must understand that even if China eases the pressure, we in Congress are ready to step in to tighten the screws on the North Korea economy. And President Trump appears to have made a second unforced error. By agreeing to curtail our joint military exercises with the South Koreans, President Trump let Kim Jong-un dictate our military activities with other countries. By proclaiming that our exercises are, quote, provocative, he has adopted the North Korea propaganda. By proclaiming that our exercises are, quote, expensive, he showed that he does not grasp our alliance commitments. Yes, some military exercises are costly, but as any business person should know, the more important indicator is value. If a high cost is outweighed by even greater benefits, then we should be willing to pay the cost. Our military exercises improve the readiness of our forces to deter and, if necessary, defeat North Korean aggression. Will North Korea be sufficiently deterred without U.S. and South Korean forces standing shoulder to shoulder? Will the chance of conflict decrease? It was telling and very regrettable that the South Korean government needed to issue a statement asking the Trump administration to clarify its comment about military exercises. It seems the Blue House in South Korea was not consulted. And what signal does it send to China that our presence in the region, which has helped keep peace and stability for decades, may be sacrificed to save a bit of money? The Trump administration might have unwittingly given a green light to China to pursue more aggressive actions in the region. Now, I have been warning that we must watch out for the old Kim family playbook, one that has been used throughout the Clinton, Bush, and Obama administrations. Well, the Kim family playbook was on the field yet again last night, and President Trump fell for all of the plays. As it has done in the past, North Korea showed that it is trying to, number one, front-load the rewards and delay concessions. As indicated by the post-summit statement from China's foreign ministry, Pyongyang and Beijing already appear to be working together to remove sanctions despite the lack of tangible evidence of denuclearization. Number two, from the Kim family playbook, use sleight of hand to make irrelevant actions seem meaningful. By supposedly demolishing the nuclear test site and a missile engine test stand, North Korea is claiming that it has made real progress despite not destroying a single warhead or missile. And number three, in the Kim family playbook, exploit ambiguity. The Trump-Kim agreement is so vague that it imposes no clear requirements on North Korea. What we should want is reconciliation, not repetition, of what has happened decade after decade when the Kim family uses its playbook to delay concessions that they make while front-end loading the rewards which they receive. We can all agree that we need a plan to stop North Korea's plutonium production and uranium enrichment, that suspends and then eliminates its ballistic missile program, that permanently dismantles and removes all of its nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons, and that implements a compliance inspection program with a strong verification regime. Suspend, eliminate, dismantle, remove, and verify every single step of the way. Most of us agree on what a deal should look like. But the trick is figuring out how to get there. And the hard work lies ahead to successfully navigate the hazards. Number one, do not sell out our allies. We must not allow North Korea to believe that the alliance framework, which has served as the foundation for regional peace and security, is anything other than unshakable. Unfortunately, South Korea seemed to be caught off guard by President Trump's announcement on military exercises. Number two, do not prematurely release the pressure valve. China, North Korea's chief enabler, already is easing pressure on North Korea. North Korean goods already are becoming more abundant in China, despite being banned by United Nations Security Council resolutions. And immediately following the summit, the Chinese Foreign Ministry suggested making adjustments to existing sanctions on North Korea. If China wants to be taken seriously as a responsible global power, it cannot shirk its duties to enforce sanctions on serial violators like North Korea. And if North Korea backslides at any point, China must be tougher on North Korea, including cutting off all of the crude oil exports to the North Korean regime, which still flows in every day from China. And three, focus on the threat at hand. North Korea's nuclear warheads and other dangerous weapons and their delivery systems are real threats. The administration must not fall for North Korea's inevitable theatrics and false concessions, as we cannot afford to be sidetracked. After all, nothing would stop North Korea from conducting another nuclear or missile test if it even believes its warheads and missiles need more testing. And number 4, build American diplomatic capability and infrastructure. Diplomacy is a team sport, and no matter what commitments leaders make, it is only through a well-staffed and resourced professional diplomatic corps that it becomes a reality. The State Department must have the resources it needs to conduct American foreign policy around the globe, and especially with regard to Asia and North Korea. The outcome of this summit clearly indicates how much we need the advice of Korea diplomats and technical experts. And number 5, come to Congress. To achieve a lasting solution to the crisis, the Trump administration must work with Congress to shape the contours of any future deal. And any final agreement should take the form of a treaty to be ratified by the United States Senate so as to increase its shelf life. Without following principles like this, and without a clear understanding of our previous diplomatic efforts with North Korea, we could fail. We owe it to our fellow Americans to successfully reduce the threats we face, because the threats from North Korea are significant. Unlike other countries with nuclear programs, North Korea already possesses thermonuclear warheads and the ballistic missiles to deliver them. It has shorter-range missiles that cast a dark shadow over our allies, South Korea and Japan. Pyongyang possesses some of the foulest toxins on the planet, and it brutally represses, imprisons, tortures, and kills its own citizens. So we must address these myriad threats. And as it turns out, negotiating with North Korea is harder than the president thought. So we must continue to squeeze the regime so that it cannot access the resources necessary to maintain or expand its military capabilities. After all, a combination of direct engagement backed by pressure is the only solution to the North Korean threat to the United States, our allies, and to the broader region.